Hi, I'm Laura Bechet. I've been in the real estate financing industry for 15 years and am a certified mortgage planning specialist. My goal is to help people with their biggest financial investment, their home, not to steer them into a possible foreclosure situation. I want to share with you some information about the economy and the current credit situation in which we find ourselves these days. Take a look at this first slide. There is speculation, and this slide might bear that speculation out, that available credit has been too inexpensive for too long and then tightened too quickly. That may be one of the reasons we are in the credit crunch we are in today. Our economy functions on a credit basis. We use credit to grow our economy. As we can see now, without credit, our economy is limping along. Not much is moving without credit. But credit needs to be regulated to keep the economy in balance. With credit too tight, like it is now, the economy doesn't move. With credit too loose, we have an issue with inflation or an economy that is too hot. It is the job of the Feds, now Ben Bernanke's group, to regulate credit to keep the economy on an even keel, growing, but at a consistently sustainable pace. What we see in this slide, then, is the history of the Fed's regulating credit over the past 7 years. If we make the assumption that it takes each of these changes about 6 months to work its way through our enormous economy, it is possible that the Feds have been too aggressive in their moves, both loosening and tightening of credit in their efforts to stay ahead of the curve in balancing our economy. Now let's take a look at the residential housing market. It is estimated that the value of all homes, what is called total value of housing stock, is $19.3 trillion. Of that $19.3 trillion, people own outright $8.7 trillion in equity. That is the value of our homes that we actually own. The balance of the total housing stock, or $10.6 trillion, is mortgaged. That is, credit that we use to help us buy our homes. The $10.6 trillion that is mortgaged breaks down into risk debt categories. Those categories are prime borrowers, that is, less risky, and subprime borrowers, more risky borrowers. In this slide, we can see that of the $10.6 trillion in outstanding mortgage debt, 91.6% are held by the less risky or prime borrowers, and 8.4% are held by the more risky or subprime borrowers. So let's look at who a subprime borrower is. In the mortgage lending field, a subprime borrower has, among other criteria that fit the definition, a credit score of less than 620. Credit scores range from 350 on the low side to a high of 850. Other factors that define a subprime borrower also may include someone having little or no cash reserve to use in case of an emergency. For instance, the loss of a job or an increase in housing payment due to an increase in the interest rate. The circle graph on the right side of this slide breaks out into percentages the factors that go into making up our credit scores, just so you all can get an idea of the infamous credit score. In this next slide, we see a timeline from 2001 through the second quarter of this year, and the allocation of those prime loans and subprime loans. There has been an increasingly larger percentage of loans having been made to subprime borrowers, so much so that in 2005 the percentage of subprime loans reached 21.3% of all outstanding mortgage loans that were originated. So what else is going on in the housing market? Looking at this slide, the graphs indicate a couple of other interesting factors. We see that in 1980 there was $958 billion in outstanding housing or mortgage debt. Today, as of the second quarter of 2008, that number is $11.3 trillion, even more than we noted in the second slide of $10.6 trillion. Here is another factor I believe has led to the housing credit mess we are in today. Note on the graph on the left, of the $958 billion in outstanding mortgage debt, the institutions that made those loans kept 84.4% of them on their own books. We talk about this as having skin in the game. Today, the percentage of lending institutions that have skin in the game has shifted dramatically by more than half to 41%. The thing to remember here, too, is that we are dealing with a much, much larger dollar amount in outstanding mortgage debt. That is $958 billion in 1980 as compared to the $11.3 trillion today. So as of the second quarter 2008, there has been a major shift in who held the bulk of those mortgage loans. So in this last slide, we now see the mortgage debt problem on its head. The number of units, or homes in other words, of the 80 million homes, the good news is that 27 million of those homes are paid off totally. 53 million homes are mortgaged. 48 million of those homeowners are paying on time. 5 million homeowners are currently behind. In the industry, we believe the picture will continue to look worse, not happy news, but we are nowhere near the housing catastrophe we faced during the Great Depression. If you have found this information helpful, or you would like to discuss conventional mortgages, reverse mortgages, or loan modifications with me, please email me at laura@vishay.com or call 650-922-0824. And thank you.